The next story. Graphic testimony continued on day 4 in the preliminary hearing of singer David. The judge weighs in on whether there is sufficient evidence for him to stand trial in the killing of the 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I still think he's innocent. I still think he's pulling off the OJ of the century. You know what I mean? The OJ last century had OJ. This is the OJ of this century. David, listen, ladies and gentlemen. I am a Biggie Smalls listener. I'm a believer in the young black male misunderstood and it's still all good. If you don't know, now you know, nigga. I believe in innocence. I believe in the young black man's plight in America. I believe in, injustice. I believe that we need to evaluate all of these cases, especially around characters, when we want to talk honestly. If people want to go like, well, no, George Floyd didn't die of fentanyl. He died of the knee on the neck. And we all want to have these debates. We all want to have arguments over like fentanyl levels, even though the fentanyl levels were increased and like 3 times the lethal dose. I want to have conversations about this little girl, 14-year-old girl, God rest her soul, stabbed herself. According to some of the people who were investigating her murder, this girl might have stabbed herself. You know what I mean? And according to if it's his own testimony, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. It's the medical examiner who said it's possible she could have stabbed herself. Whether or not she then proceeded to cut herself into bits what's the thing that used to carve a turkey that goes like, people don't always use it, but it's like it's an actual, like, it's designed to cut through bird meat or whatever. What do they use to cut turkey? It's got like a grinder. It's got like a thing on it. It's a chef's knife or a bread knife, typically. A cutting board. No, this is not. Can anybody tell me if I'm right about this? Don't talk. I'm talking. Can anybody tell me what tool I'm thinking of that I cannot think of? It's like a serrated knife that goes back and forth, and you see it at like white people Thanksgivings. Anyway, definitely not a Thanksgiving that David would have found himself at. But listen. I'm just going to let him go. I'm going to let you guys hear the details of the case, and you're going to understand now. You are going to understand why it's possible that he is going to pull out not like he did with that 14-year-old who he ended up getting pregnant. He's not going to pull out like that because he didn't. He is going to pull out the most impressive non-guilty verdict this century will ever see. You mark my words right now.
Details being shared in the preliminary hearing for singer David. A medical examiner revealing how Celeste Rivas Hernandez died. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter live in studio now to share more details. Leanne.
Mark, it was some of the most graphic testimony and evidence yet in this disturbing case. For Celeste Rivas Hernandez's parents, it was simply too much. They had avoided going into court this morning, and this afternoon they had to leave mid-testimony as detectives began...
Why do you want them there? Kick them out. If they're going to be doing all these scenes where it's like, oh, we can't even hear about it. Why are you there?
The ongoing alleged sexual abuse of their daughter by singer David.
Don't even care. I hate it.
The singer killed Celeste because she had threatened to go public with their sexual relationship, which allegedly began when she was 13 and he was 18, and that would have ruined his career. A veteran LAPD detective detailing the explicit photos of sex acts between the two he found on David's phone.
Well, that kind of clears it up a little bit.
And the numerous texts between the two about pregnancy and the morning after pill. One from David reading, quote, "Let's let this abortion be the last one."
The prosecution is spending a lot of time on this case because there's a lot to go over. It's not just a murder. It is a sexual abuse case, but it's also a case involving the abuse of a corpse. So you're really seeing 3 different sets of testimony.
The day beginning with the medical examiner detailing the autopsy and the condition in which the 14-year-old's body was found, saying it was so decomposed, some of it had liquefied.
That's pretty nuts.
Throughout the disturbing testimony, David remaining stoic, showing no apparent emotions. The singer is charged with murder, sexual abuse of a child, and mutilation of a body. The medical examiner says Celeste's arms and legs had been cut from her torso with some type of power tool, but couldn't say exactly what due to decomposition. As graphic as the testimony has been, legal experts say the trial likely will contain much more.
Right now we're talking about very experienced lawyers, a judge who's been doing this for almost 25 years.
I want to be a judge just so I can sit around all day and be like, all right, What's on the docket? Boroth versus Ackers. All right. I know that, like, there's, like, property line disputes. There's, like, oh, somebody's oak. Like, this is all white people trials. It's like, oh, your oak is overhanging on my property line by, like, 5 feet. It could fall on my Escalade or some shit. And that's, like, I'd rather be in some shitty district where I have to deal with parent court. Oh, I'd kill to be in parent court. I'd love to, listen. I want to hear people argue about alimony. I want to hear people argue about weekends. I want to hear mothers cry. I want to hear fathers cry. I want to hear the children crying when they're hanging out with the therapist in the hallway because their lives will never look remotely normal because two people that should have never had children in the first place decided to, and now they've cursed these creatures with consciousness, and now those creatures cursed with consciousness, who knows what's going to happen to them? Who knows? They're going to figure out their own lives. They're going to figure out what their lives look like. We don't have a plan for them. Their parents certainly didn't, so, why would they have a plan? Why would they be like, honestly, if you're made out of the passion of two other people that like just were like, we'll fuck, but we're not going to stick it out, like that's a weird way to come into this world. It's sort of like you're the product of two people's horniness, you're not the product of a loving union. Got it. Like, okay, that's just going to be a weird spot for a lot of people to navigate. And listen, I am happy to help those children. I'm happy to find them new homes. Foster care it up. Every single one of my like verdicts, I'd be like, both of you are pieces of shit. Sending them to foster care. They don't have a grandparent to go with? Foster care. Foster care. Foster care. I don't care. Listen, I understand foster care, they traffic children. That's exactly why we need to revamp the foster care system. I would revamp the foster care system if it was up to me, but it's not up to me. So it's just going to continue to be the back and forth system that it is right now where children are literally trafficked by their foster parents. Some foster parents marry their own children, like marry their foster children. If you don't believe me, it's true.
We've seen it all, but jurors have not seen a case as horrific as this involving the murder of a young girl. That shock and awe is going to be very powerful and very difficult for anyone to watch.
Very powerful.
David, whose real name is David Burke, has pleaded not guilty to all charges. That preliminary hearing to determine if there is enough evidence for him to stand trial.
Do we have to dox him? Do we really have to dox D4VD? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I prefer to refer to the artist by the artist name. And listen, the medical examiner has testified, but this girl could have killed herself, according to him. Let's hear it. This is NBC LA.
LA County Deputy Medical Examiner Grant Ho back on the witness stand as he provided a clinical narration.
He sounds like a hoe. Get it? Ho.
About his examination of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body. An overhead photograph of her body on an exam table was shown in court. It showed Celeste's condition after severe decomposition, and her severed limbs were positioned so she appeared in a complete figure. The accused, David Burke, could be seen looking up at images from the autopsy without a visible reaction. Under questioning from prosecutor Beth Silverman, Dr. Ho explained that he concluded Celeste was murdered, likely by two penetrating wounds to her chest and abdomen. One of them punctured her liver. Both of them would have been fatal.
Oof.
He said he was unable to say when she died or when she was dismembered due to the condition of her remains, and that it was possible a power tool was used to separate her arms and legs.
Well, okay. Possible? Yes, definitely. This is the key, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. This is the key. Listen to what he says very clearly right here.
On cross-examination by defense attorney Marilyn Bednarski, Dr. Ho acknowledged that it was difficult to make exact conclusions about what happened because of the decomposition. Bednarski suggested it was possible Celeste had stabbed herself to death into a sharp instrument, and that it might not have been immediately clear that she was bleeding and dying.
So here's what happened. Let me lay it out for you, for the retards among us. This 14-year-old girl was prancing about, being all 14-year-old girlish. You know how they are. They like, have you seen the beginning of Little House on the Prairie where they're like, we're giggling and we're running through the fields together and whatnot. Ma and Pa are behind us. And then she was giggling and running through the recording studio, I guess, of David's place. And she just so happens to, and he just so happens to have this on display. She trips and falls onto a 3-foot open blade samurai sword that proceeds to stab her through the liver. She gets all, oh, whoa. I feel like a cramp or something. She turns around and she the sword comes out of her, and then she looks at the sword. She goes, oh my God. I better be careful of that thing. And then right before she decides to take a step back, she trips over her own feet and falls forward and then gets stabbed in the chest again by this sword that's just sitting on this countertop or something like that. And then she was like, shit, I just got stabbed twice, man, but I'm like not even bleeding. That's crazy. She looked at the blade. It was entirely clean. And by the way, the blade is gone. They never found that when they were at David's home or anything like that. So like it just so happened to disappear. Maybe it like is in a river or something. It could be like with another kid. It could be anywhere at this point. Someone might have bought it from him. Like it could be in anybody's hands at this point. But this samurai sword happens to stab her twice. She goes, David, I think I'm bleeding or something. I think I'm bleeding a little bit. And he goes, I know how to stop that. I know how to get that nice and backed up. We got to reroute the blood somewhere else so that it stops coming out of those holes through your chest. So why don't we cut off your legs? Why don't we cut off your arms? Why don't we cut off your head? That way, all the blood will start rushing to those open wounds, and this was a Monty Python, and she was, by the end, she was like, this is a flesh wound. She was just the torso. She was just hopping around, like, following him, and she was like, what do we do now? And then he goes, all right, fine. I think I'm gonna have to literally just cut you in half and just drain all your blood, because all of these wounds are now bleeding. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just trying to do at-home surgery. They're trying to figure it out. She proceeds to, at one point, I don't know when, like, fall over. Her like, no more animating life is in it. She's dead. Now, what is he left to do? Is he left to, go to jail for this young nymph's improprieties, her inability to be careful, her irresponsibilities, quite frankly, of just prancing about and stabbing herself with knives? What is he to do other than take all these pieces, like literally like she fell apart like Legos? Like he takes all these pieces of her, puts them in a garbage bag, drives his Tesla to somewhere, I'm guessing like somewhere, to get impounded, and then he decides, I'll go back for that one day. I'm not going to go back for that anytime soon, but maybe I'll get to it. It gets impounded. He goes, well, maybe somebody took care of it for me. He goes on and lives out the rest of his life normally, and that's how this story should have gone. But then, I don't know, somebody decided to be fun, somebody decided to be racist, and someone decided to come for a young black male's career. I will be the first one to give him a job once he, by the way, gets out of this. I will be the first one when he gets out of jail. I will say, look, no one else in this town will hire you, so I will hire you. You will be the main music correspondent for your Brain on Air, ladies and gentlemen. David.